What is up, Fanatics? It's 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means another episode of Home Theater Fanatics Live. Tonight is episode 151, and we got another banger for you. So we have joining us again, I think for the second time, maybe, Lee Mark from Mantle Mount. And if you guys have televisions or mantles and need mounts, this gentleman is the king of the mount. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thanks, Giles. I'm doing great. Yeah, you're right. This is the second time. I'm glad to be back.
Oh, and glad to have you. And I keep walking around my house and I'm like, where can I put a fireplace in? I'm going to get one of these mantle mounts, but I just don't have a mantle anywhere. Where am I going to do this at?
Well, it's interesting because I was having a talk with someone in the company today that we named this product Mantle Mount because, as you know, and you'll probably show a video or something of it. It's meant to be to put your TV over a fireplace, but we can go into it later. But the fact is that so many people are now using it for other uses because really it just allows you to bring a TV down from high on the wall, bring it forward and down to eye level. So people are using it in conference rooms. They got the TV high on the wall for people who want to see the TV in the back, but then they're going to do a Zoom call. So they pull it down to eye level. So everybody's kind of right there. They're putting them in restaurants for menu boards. They're putting them in schools over whiteboards. I mean, we thought it was going to be just something for over the mantle, but it's amazing how people are finding their own uses for it. Doctors' offices.
You're gonna have to call it the movable mount or something like that.
So we're gonna have to change the name. Yeah, movable, not just for the mantle.
So before we get into, I was gonna follow the script and we're like, now let's do the introduction. But since we're talking about this stuff, one thing I was thinking about. So in the basement, we've got a room, right? And we've always not really known what to do with this room, and it's changed from time to time. And now we're gonna turn it into a make Giles less fat room. I think that's what my wife is calling it anyway. Make Giles less fat, not thin and not buff and not in shape, just less fat. So we've got a TV in there, and right now it's just sitting on a little piece of furniture. But we want to use this with some different exercise tools that, you use your phone, it's got a camera and it can watch you do the stuff and counts your reps. And, it puts like a little trainer person up there. You can watch the video and do all this stuff. But a lot of times you're like, okay, they're like lay down and do crunches and leg lifts. And then when you're down there, the TV's like way up high.
Yeah.
Right. It would be cool to be able to pull it out and down over that furniture and get it as close to the floor as possible. So it's kind of interesting because, I would want to go from what I would consider to be like a normal viewing height where the television is now, but get it down to where it's like less than, like a foot off the floor or something. And so when I lay down,
that's another use. People are sticking it in home gyms all the time. Another thing is gaming. Some kids are sitting on beanbag chairs and the TV is up where it's great if you're sitting on the sofa, but the kid wants to sit right in front of the TV and they just pull it down to eye level, sit on their beanbag chair and play their games. It's just so many weird uses. We probably should tell those who are here who have no idea what we're talking about.
Let's rewind this. So today we've got a great show, and joining us is Lee Mark. Lee, welcome. Tell everybody about you.
Thanks.
Okay, so are you and why should people care?
I don't know if anybody should care who I am, but I do think they should care about our product Mantle Mount. So I'm the CEO of a company called Mantle Mount, and we make a TV mount that's meant specifically for high on the wall locations, like over a fireplace. Basically, if you put your TV, these days houses are built, especially modern homes, they have these open concept family rooms, they have these 4.5 or 5 foot high mantles, and someone's putting a 70-inch, 80-inch TV over
Hmm.
that mantle. Their couch is 10 feet away, and they're sitting there watching their movies like they're in the front row of a movie theater looking up. And
Right.
that really has a lot of negative implications. Looking up like that for extended periods of time can cause neck pain, it can cause headaches. You're looking at your TV at the wrong angle. So the beautiful picture that you paid for clarity, you're not seeing that clarity because you're not looking at it at eye level.
Sure, you're too
But
far
by
off
the same
off
token,
axis.
sometimes there's nowhere else to put it. So Mantle Mount allows you to take that TV, and either in an electronic way with a remote control or in a manual way, you can pull that TV out and down to clear the mantle to eye level, swivel it left or right, and when you're done, push it back up against the wall where it looks great. And the technology, if it's not the automated one, an 8-year-old can reach up with one hand and pull the TV down. You see the gas pistons on that video there.
Yeah, so
It's got
this is the mount in action.
yeah,
Look at us. We
Mantle
got
Mountain
technology. They got grandma doing it. Man,
action.
just everybody can do it.
Yeah, so it's really easy to pull a 100-pound TV down off the wall to eye level, swivel it left or right,
Bald
plop
people can
yourself
do
on
it.
the couch, and when you're done, push it back up against the wall. So that's what we do.
That's cool. And then, like, one thing that I think is pretty cool is you can see it in one of these scenes. Not that one. Not that one. It's the box in the wall behind it, which I think allows you to snug it up even more with your piston arm. Is
Oh
that right?
yeah, so
It should
if
not
you
see that
really
was like
wanted
just
to
on there it is. There it is.
there it is, yeah. So, yeah, the standard mantle mount can be attached to a wall just like any other mount. But when the TV is up against the wall, it's about the TV is actually about 3 or 4 inches off the wall. And if you're facing it, looking at your fireplace, that's not such a big deal. But some people are really into the aesthetics or the way the room is built. They're looking at that. They come in the house and they see that wall from the side. So we've got a recess box for all of our mounts that allows you to basically put this box in the wall, and it is so that it's kind of it creates a recess in the wall, and then you attach the arm of this mount because it's got an arm that allows it to go up and down into the recess box, so that when the mount goes back up, the whole arm tucks inside of the recess box,
Yeah, I think
and
that's cool.
that's really aesthetically nice.
Now, does that box go from stud to stud, or do you hit it on one side and lag it into the studs on one side, or what's how would that
That's a great question. Um, We
or
have
the
one box that's actually rather narrow. I'd say it's about 9 inches wide. So usually, studs are 16 inches apart.
right?
So in that case, it doesn't necessarily reach the studs. We have another one that's a little bit wider. It's maybe, I don't remember the exact dimensions. It's maybe 15 or it's maybe 16 inches wide. So it fits perfectly on 16 on center studs. But what I would say is that most people who do this, it's really kind of cool. They certainly you have to know where your studs are. But if your studs aren't smack dab in the center of the wall, you can kind of cut the drywall um, at, according to the size of a little template that we give you,
Mhm.
and then that recess box has a lip. So if you click on shop on that thing that you've got on your screen,
Sure, sure. Let me,
um,
check
shop, and then there is something where it says recess box right in that shop.
the
Our
RB100.
yeah.
There we go.
So you can
Oh, I
kind of
see those
see,
cross panels. Yeah.
yeah. So what happens is some people will frame this inside the wall. They'll cut open a hole, but then they'll build a top. They'll get a 2x4 and they'll put it across the top and the bottom, and then they'll just screw the recess box into those cross beams. We actually have. Uh, I'm not going to explain it now, but there's something that comes in the box that makes inserting those cross beams really easy. And then, or other people, they'll use that little bar you see across the top to reach the studs in the wall. So maybe the box is only 9 inches wide, your studs are 16 inches apart.
Right.
So you attach this little bar across the top and the bottom and stick it in the studs. But the TV covers it all when it's in the up position, and that arm folds right into it. It's
Yeah,
really
no,
nice look.
that's sweet. I really like that. And the price on that box is only $200. I mean, that's for somebody who's looking at this kind of piece of equipment, I mean, that's the prices on this stuff is just so reasonable. I can't imagine anybody that needs to be able to bring their television down. And if you have a TV above your mantle, let me just tell you, you might not know it, but you need to bring it down. It'll
Yeah.
really improve the experience a lot. I mean, they can get into these things at a really great price, and they can install it themselves or have a friend come over and help it. I mean, it's no more difficult really than anything else. So
And you
it's
do
cool.
talk about the pricing. It's hard to know because a lot of products that are made of steel could be made of 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter or different qualities of steel. When you get that recess box, it's a heavy, heavy thing. It's made of 3 millimeter steel. It's high grade steel. It's thick. It's heavy, but it needs to hold your TV in the wall.
Yep.
So when you say $200 is not a lot, it's really not a lot for this really big, heavy piece of machine steel that you're going to be using to keep your TV safe.
That's cool. Well, mentioning all those things, let's get into some of these topics that we have lined out. And the first thing is, new stuff, right? So there's a new mantle mount 700, and then something else that I can't even find anything about yet that maybe you can tell us about. But I can pull up the
We're
700.
gonna
Let me see if I can
Yeah,
pull
we're gonna
that up.
give you the inside scoop. If you just click on mounts or shop, just right when it says shop or pull down TV mounts, that's the best thing to click on for a second. Yeah, there you go.
Is it going to do anything?
So we've made a new version
There we go.
of the 700. And so look, what happens is we've got three different mounts that we sell on our direct consumer site. One, and not that it means anything to people, one's called the 340, one's called the 540. If you click on that button shop, I think it shows you all three of the mounts at one time.
There we go.
There you go. So um, we've got this 340 and this 540 and this 700. And what's the 700 was always part of our professional series of mounts, and we have some other professional series of mounts that we also sell. The these mounts, when you look at them, you say, well, what's the difference? There's not much of a difference. And if you were to look at the specifications on the 700, you really can't tell why you would buy the 700 over the 540. But I'll tell you, it handles a heavier TV. It's a lot more sturdy. It's a lot more solid. They're all really good mounts. But if you want the one that's really so solid and sturdy and has zero wobble, then the 700 would be the one. What really tricked people though was that the 540, the one in the middle, which is a little less expensive, had tilt built into it. So for people who did want to tilt their TV when it was up against the wall, that one had tilt built into it. And the 700 did not. So it was a slightly better mount in terms of stability, and they're all stable, but like rock solid
Sure,
stable.
it's
And
the beefiest.
and but it didn't have the tilt. So the thing that we decided to do was we decided to add tilt to the 700. So that's a new thing that people don't know about, adding the tilt to the 700. So it's rock solid. It doesn't have any wobble at all, and it handles a much heavier TV. And if you want to add if you want to add tilt in the upper position, um, you'll get a better mount with all the same features as the 540, just uh, more. I was talking about the thick steel, right? So this
Right.
one has thicker
Right.
steel and whatnot.
That makes sense.
So that's really the difference with the 700. Um, they're all really good. The main differences between these three is the 700 and the 540 has kind of that bar across the bottom that you can put a sound bar on.
Mhm.
and the 340 does not. That's some of the differences.
Right on. Yeah, I'm just flipping through these pictures so people can kind of see what you're talking about. All right, and then so that's the upgrade on the 700, but you've got something altogether different and new, right?
Yeah, it's called a 720. And what's going to happen, I'm kind of giving you some inside dope that you don't see on our website right now. Um, the 700 is going to become a consumer SKU only. And and so what we did is we kind of had to replace that one with something similar but better for our pro side. And our pro
Right.
products you really can only buy generally, other than the 700, from a professional dealer, so a store that sells them or a home AV person. And you can find those people on our website if you want to find one. Um, but as it stands today, you don't see this what we call the 720. And the 720 is got the same rigidity that you find in the 700. It's based in many ways, it has some similar parts, but the big difference is we changed the geometry. And it while all of our mounts move down smoothly, this one is just super smooth in how far down it comes. It comes further off the wall. So if you have a deeper mantle, it's no problem at all, or a bigger room, it'll
Mhm.
bring the TV closer to you. And it also has tilt, but a lot of tilt on TV mounts. To tilt, you have to get behind the TV, you have to loosen one side,
Right, and
you have to
then
loosen the other, you got to pull it forward, you got to tighten it, you got to tighten the other. And that's how our consumer mounts work. They're not bad, it's standard. But we created this new kind of patented tilt, which is really kind of cool. And it's how I wish I could show you the 700. But as your TV is there, there's a handle under the TV that you use to pull the TV down. But that handle allows you to squeeze it. And when you squeeze it, it releases the tilt. And with one hand, you can just move that tilt
oh,
forward and
that's
back
cool.
to wherever you want, let go of the handle, and that's the angle of the tilt. You don't have to get behind the TV. You don't have to tighten it and loosen it. Just squeeze it, move it, let go. And then when you want to straighten it again, just squeeze it, move it back, let go. So
That's
it,
awesome.
it is something that the people who have tested it just really, really love it. I don't know if it translates when I describe it versus seeing it, but it's just one of those things that you want to pull your TV down, and maybe you do have a kid at that moment who's sitting on the floor playing his video game, and even though it's down, he wants to tilt it down even further. You know, he just squeezes the handle, pushes it in, and has it in the perfect position. And so that's the 720. It's going to be available in a couple of months, and it's only going to be available through our authorized dealers.
That's awesome. So that, to me, if I were gonna be choosing, other than the motorized unit, which is a whole different kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's like I can like, "Hey, y'all, look what I can do." But man, this I know the 720 sounds awesome. And, after our discussion earlier, I'm starting to think about how, where can this go? And, there are a multitude of places where you can find this thing useful, even if you're not putting it in, like you said, the traditional kind of spots. And I'm trying to think, how could it be useful in a kitchen? Um, so I've already thought of like this little breakfast nook area, and we wanted the television a little bit higher, for watching news or something in the morning, and people are sitting down at the table. You just want to be able to see it over their head. But sometimes people want to watch it as just a regular television later in the evening. One of the kids is like, okay, I'm gonna go do my own thing. I'm just gonna go here into the nook and I'm gonna watch television. And they're looking up a little bit. So yeah, that's another use case for it. So
That is, and
so many different
very same
things.
use cases. People are hooking their computers to their TV to do Zoom meetings. Excuse me, I
Right.
just
Yep.
had a little bit of a cold. Sorry about that.
No worries.
If you had it in your Nook, and your son wanted to, he's using his Xbox and he's doing a Zoom, or he's using his computer and he's doing a Zoom call, it's really great to have that TV right in front of your face. You know
I
what I mean? And
I know exactly what
or,
you're saying.
or if you have like a huddle in a conference room, And it's so much nicer when you're meeting with 3 or 4 people in your room and you're meeting with someone else on Zoom, that everybody's just looking each other right eye to eye.
No,
That's a
that's super
fantastic.
cool. No,
We
I
have some
like that a
people who
lot.
do some interesting things. Some people have a covered, while Mantle Mount is actually pretty sturdy outdoors. We didn't necessarily rate it for outdoors, but it's got some really great powder coating. And if you put it under a covered patio, it does really well. So some people like they have it way up high in their covered patio, and because they don't want it obstructing their view. But then
Right.
when they want to watch TV, they pull it down. I I saw somebody else who um, had sliding doors in a room, and the only place they could really put the TV was on the wall that the sliding doors were on. So they mounted the Mantle mount above their sliding doors, and it was just kind of stowed away really up
Oh,
high.
yeah, yeah, that's
And
way up
then
there.
and then they pulled it down. Uh, I saw the same thing in on a patio where the only place they could really put the TV was over their sliding doors. And then when they wanted to watch it, they would pull it down. Um, we have a lot of schools. I mean, we've been selling so many of these things to schools where they have a whiteboard or a chalkboard. Now, who uses chalkboards anymore? It's all whiteboards. They have a whiteboard on the wall, and they used to have TVs on carts that they would have to roll in, and so now they put the TV on the wall high up over the whiteboard, but then when they want to play a video or whatnot, they just pull it down right in front of the whiteboard so it's much closer to eye level of the students. People are doing all kinds of different things with this. It's truly amazing.
That's cool. Now, before we move on to the next topic, I just want to take a second and say hi to, everybody that's out in the audience that has joined us today. A lot of the mainstays are here. We've got Hi-Fi Haven, we've got Double A with us, we've got Mad Piranha, we've got My Mail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, thanks so much for joining everybody, and then all the people that are out there in lurker mode. If you have questions, please feel free to jump in and ask. I feel like we're covering things fairly exhaustively, but if you do have something, don't be shy. And speaking of not being shy, so what's up with the MM860 Pro? Now, is there something new on that model?
Yeah, and I think it would be fun again if you could pull up the
Yep.
website and go to the 860 Pro page and click on the tab that says video and maybe just hit play on that video when you get there. Um, but for those who haven't seen it, basically this is a mount that has a recess box built into it. It's a beast of a product. It allows anyone to easily, you just click a button and your TV will come down and swivel to eye level, and the recess boxes you see there can be recessed into the wall so that the TV is completely flush. Um, Basically, you turn your TV on, and the TV comes down, and while it's coming down, it starts swiveling to your favorite preset position. And then when you're ready, it'll push itself back up. Also, if someone does have their fireplace on, or a lot of people have home automation, so the fireplace comes on automatically. If they left the TV down when the fireplace comes on, the mount has a heat sensor in it, and it'll automatically detect that and push the TV back up against the wall where it's safe
That's cool.
from fire. And so it has multiple presets, so you can point it to your easy chair, you can point it to your couch. It's just really got that super great wow
Up
factor. And
up to
go
100
ahead.
inches.
Yeah, yeah, 100-inch TV. Um, the If you do like this, you want to get in on it because the prices are, unfortunately, due to all the logistics and other things going on, this particular product's going to have to go up a little bit in price. Well, keep it there for a second, because one thing that's
Sure.
really cool about it is that box that you see in the middle is kind of the brains. It'll attach to your network so that you can control it over the network.
You're talking
But
about
if
this
you
guy right
don't,
here?
yeah, but if you don't have home automation, you don't need it to make it so that you just turn your TV on and it'll come down. On that box, you don't see it, but is an electrical outlet like what you would have in your wall. And there's another wire that goes from the mount to electricity. So what you do is you plug your TV into the mount, into the electrical outlet on that box, and then that box is detecting the power that's going through it. So when you turn your TV on, that box detects, oh, the TV just went on, and it brings the mount all the way down to your favorite preset position. And
Hmm.
when you turn the TV off, it detects the drop in power and it pushes it up against the wall. So you don't have to have any special software really to have the home automation like features. What's new about it is that there were some people who were now getting some heavier TVs, and this thing had a top weight of I can't remember what it is. It's like 120 pounds or 110 pounds, and some people were putting these heavy panels on it. And as the TVs are getting larger, and some of them are light and some of them are heavy, so what we did is while it's got two actuators, those are the electronics that make it move up and down. We added a gas spring like you'd find in a hatchback in between
Okay.
the two actuators. And that allowed it to handle much heavier weights, and it actually gave it slightly smoother movement. And so that's the big addition. And it's actually some TVs you don't need it for, and others, depending on how the weight was distributed on them, it wasn't as smooth as it could be. So now we can handle heavier TVs, and for more for some of the unusual TVs, it's more smooth for some of them. Those are the actuators. They're custom made, and you can see the electrical outlet that I'm talking
Yep,
about
right there.
on that picture. So you just plug your TV right into that, and the mount knows when you've turned it on. A little kind of thing that I can tell you is that one thing this mount doesn't have is today is Wi-Fi, and we're getting more and more requests for it. So later in the year, it'll also have Wi-Fi.
Man, that's cool. Yeah, no, this is the Cadillac of
Yeah,
the
this is
product line, right?
definitely the you can buy a mantle mount for a couple $100 and you can buy a mantle mount for a couple $1,000, and each one just has a different set of functionality, but they all do the same thing. They all bring the TV down to eye level where it's really comfortable to watch
Cool, right on.
and gives you great picture quality.
Now, a lot of people mount televisions, above the fireplace, right? And
Yeah.
there are a lot of there's a lot of info out there. Oh, you always have to put it above, or don't do it, or but what's the real skinny on over the fireplace mounting? I mean, what are the real considerations there?
It's changed over time. There are a lot of old school TV installers who built their God, I don't want to. I don't mean to put it that way, but there are a lot. Everybody has a business, and everybody has learned their kind of sales pitch, and they get used to giving it. And a long time ago, TVs were more fragile. They couldn't handle the heat levels that they can handle today. They had different kinds of electronics in it, and I'm not saying that you should use a mantle mount with a blazing fire, but a lot of homes are built with these gas fireplaces, and there's not a lot of heat coming out of them, or they have big deep mantles that actually protect your TV when it's over the fireplace. But there are a lot of people who, for either aesthetic reasons or others, just say, "I don't care what you do, you should not put a TV over a fireplace." And some of the reasons were aesthetic. They might be, you know, now we have family rooms that are meant for TV watching, but that comes from the day when you just had a living room, and there are some people who just believe a piece of art should go there.
Right, right.
And it should be your talking room, and you should never have something that you're watching. But now you've got these frame TVs, these
I was
art
gonna
TVs.
say today, 85-inch frame above the fireplace on a mantle mount. When you're not watching television, it's beautiful artwork, and then you pull it down. Oh, you're
Exactly.
talking my language.
Yeah. So it is a little different, and a lot of TVs are going over family rooms, which really are meant to be the entertainment room of the average house. It's different than your living room. So I think that it is true. One reason not to put a TV over a fireplace if a mantle mount didn't exist, which is why we made this product, for a lot of people, it's that it's like I said at the top of the show. If that fireplace is tall and your TV is way high up there, it's uncomfortable. And the other reason why people often said don't put a TV over a fireplace in the past was that the image quality was bad. And that's true, especially if you've got it flat against the wall and you're looking up, you're watching the TV at an angle that it wasn't built to be watched at. Most TVs have the best picture quality when you look at it at eye level. And then there's just kind of the aspect ratio. When you're looking at a TV up high on the wall, it doesn't look perfectly rectangular to you. So that and the loss of picture makes it a little less comfortable. But when you have a mantle mount, you can bring that TV right down to eye level, see the perfect picture. There's no weird angle. So mantle mount solves a lot of the reasons I'd say that people have had in the past about not putting a TV over the fireplace. And we don't, like I said, um, most TVs today can handle 110 or 120 pound, I mean 110 to 120 degrees of temperature, right?
Sure.
Um, so in most cases, unless you've got this huge oversized wood burning fireplace with a very slim mantle, the TV's not going to get that heat close to it, even with the mantle mount. It comes off the wall enough so that you wouldn't really get that heat. You don't get it at all with some smaller fireplaces or the gas burning fireplaces. But in general, we tell everybody, don't use a mantle mount while you're burning a fire, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
don't
if
stoke that
you
guy up.
do, yeah. But if you do, our mounts have a heat sensing handle on them, even the manual mount. So the motorized mount will just push itself up if it detects temperatures over 110 degrees automatically. But our other ones have a handle on it that turns that's got a like a rubberized cover that's been specially treated so that if it won't melt, this rubberized cover, and it won't get hot, but it'll change color. It'll turn bright red if it detects 110 degrees. So if you do accidentally have your fire on while you're got your TV down, the mount will kind of warn you, okay, it's time to push it up because the handle will turn red.
Yeah, it's all these little details that really make the solution elegant, right? From a big picture level, it's obvious, right? Um, you have a TV that's too high, let's get something that you can bring it down, and this is the solution for that. But it's all these other little pieces of, let's do some tilt and some swivel. Let's make sure that you're not going to melt your television by accident. And then let's build this humongous, awesome model that is totally remote controllable. And you have a robot in your house or your television, which is awesome. But yeah, that's what I think really, just outside of the idea of the product, it's these things that kind of distinguish the product and really elevate it.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. Um,
You kind of remind me of this one thing that is worth mentioning. The guy who made the first mantle mount made it to solve a problem is in his own house, right? He had the TV on a TV stand. The best place to the center of the room was the fireplace, so it was off on the side. He had two young daughters. He was worried they were gonna knock it over. I've even seen people who put a TV stand in front of their fireplace so they can watch the TV at eye level.
mhm.
That looks weird. But one of the things that this guy, his name is Brian, and he's an amazing engineer. He did really think of everything. So, for example, he created and we patented these what we call auto straightening. So you can pull the mount down and you can swivel it left and right. But let's say it was swiveled and you were pushing it up in that swiveled position. Well, the mount will straight. It won't go up without straightening itself, so it doesn't hit your
So you
mantle
can't
and
bang
it
the
doesn't hit
edges.
your wall. You
Yeah.
can't bang the mantle. Can't bang the wall. Now there is a certain amount of swivel, and if you do have it down, you could bang it in theory into your mantle. But what he built was swivel stops. So he put this very easy way for you to adjust the mantle so you could limit the swivel so that when it's down, it'll never hit your mantle. Some people will mount the mount low in such a way that the mount comes really far down, and maybe in certain conditions that arm would hit the mantle based on where you put it on the wall. But he's got vertical travel stops, so you can set it and then lock it down so the arm when it comes down will never hit your mantle. I mean, there's all kinds of little settings and things that just keep your wall safe, keep your mantle safe, keep your TV safe. He really thought of everything. I gotta hand it to him.
Oh,
He's a brilliant
that's
engineer.
cool. Now, for folks that, are thinking about getting into one of these, one of the notes I have, written down here is that it's going to be the perfect time to buy soon with the Super Bowl coming up. But why is that?
Well, uh, if you are a Sam's Club member, I think they're going to have some mantle mounts on sale for Super Bowl
Hold
at
on, you're in
Sam's Club.
Sam's Club.
Yeah, yeah, we're in
You've
Sam's Club.
made it.
Yeah, yeah. We've
You've
talking with
made it.
other big box stores as well. So you'll start seeing these in more places pretty soon, than just on our website or from our authorized dealers. But I think what ends up happening is we see a lot of sales right before Super Bowl from people who are getting ready to have parties, and I know I've been to people's homes. I don't say anything out loud, but where they have a really big old TV. They invited me to a Super Bowl party. It's on top of a big old mantle, and everybody is just sitting like this. And so, if you're going to have a party, it's a great time, a Super Bowl party. It's a great time to consider buying a mantle mount before your party, especially if you've got a big TV over a mantle that your couch is facing, and everybody's going to be sitting on that on
Oh,
that.
that makes
We
sense.
see a big rush of sales right before Super Bowl.
I can imagine people are buying new televisions because they want the big one for the game, right? And man, this is like a little add-on. Like, oh, let's get this mantle mount too. Yeah, let's get it all at once. No, that's cool. And they can have Geek Squad come out and install it in the wall for them. No, that's
Absolutely.
cool. But no, I didn't realize you were in Sam's Club. So my assumption is since we'll see you there more often, the next time that you're on the stream with us, you'll probably be coming from somewhere in the Caribbean or on your yacht.
No, I don't think so.
Spending
I
some of
don't
that
think
Sam's
so.
Club money.
And if I was on my yacht, which I don't have, but if I was on my yacht, I'd probably have a picture of this room right behind me.
That's right. Keep it humble. Keep it humble.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show with us today and telling us about the new products and the updates to the old products, and really providing people some solutions for problems that I know plague a lot of people. Because just like you've described, I've been to a number of people's homes, and they're like, "Oh, let's watch this thing," and it's television's way up high because there was a period of time there where homes were built. There's just nowhere else to put the TV, right? That's just, either you can put it above the mantle, or they have like these weird little cutouts that obviously were made for CRTs or something,
Those
and
old tube TVs.
yeah, it just there's nowhere where
Ooh.
for it except above the mantle. And I'm like, oh, these people really need a mantle mount. And then I'm all like, just watch this video. I email them a link, and this will fix you up.
Thank you
But
so much for doing that.
oh
Now I
no,
know where
not
our sales are coming from.
that's right. Don't forget that commission schedule we got to work on now. No, but I love to tell people about the product when I'm in that situation, if nothing other than for self-preservation of my neck.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to the next time.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Hey, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. All right, folks. Again, thanks to Lee Mark from Mantle Mount for joining us today. But it is time to move on to our next segment. And while I don't have a content corner guest on today, I wanted to talk a little bit about some videos that I have coming up. And then also, I believe it was Double A had an issue or a question that he was asking uh, about amplifiers. And so he's one of my patrons on Patreon, and thank you so much for that. And the question, let me run through some of these notes. So he's looking for a new amp, multi-channel amp. And he's got his eye on potentially an Outlaw 7 channel, which is a pretty broadly popular multi-channel amplifier. And it looks like it's going to be a replacement for the amplification coming off of a 7-channel AVR, an Anthem, that it sounds like when things are going full tilt, the Anthem can go into power protection mode. And that could be for a lot of different reasons, right? So maybe it's sensing clipping on the amplification on the inside, or maybe you're pushing hard and the ohm load drops a little bit due to some of the content, and that kind of exceeds the limitation. Or maybe things are getting hot and it's doing some kind of heat protection. There could be a number of different things um, in there. So it's one of the questions was why would it shut down? It could be a lot of stuff, and it's hard to really tell without some diagnostic information, which typically, folks on the support team for the AVR or the processor would be able to kind of dig out and take a look and see. So I don't know exactly why, but if it's only happening when you're running full tilt, something's hitting some kind of limit, whether it's heat or output or ohm load or whatever it is. Something's definitely not happy, right? So the question is, for 1,100, $1,200, what is the right amplifier to move into for this kind of thing? Now, let's for folks out there that are watching, if you have thoughts on this, I'm all ears as well. Um, so he says that he's only got bookshelves, so it might be the speakers. I don't think that's necessarily it. A bookshelf speaker versus a tower speaker versus whatever other kind of speaker, ultimately the amplifier doesn't know what's on the other side, other than it's sending power, and there's a certain level of resistance that the load has on that end, right? So whatever that ohm load resistance is kind of the only thing that the amplifier kind of understands, right? It's like, how hard is it to push this power through? And as that ohm load changes, that will impact the operation of the amplifier. But I don't know if it's I wouldn't think that it's bookshelf speakers that's causing the problem. Now let me see. I'm gonna pull up that outlaw amplifier. Oh, outlaw audio. I think I can share so everybody can see this. Share out a tab with outlaw audio. So let's see, power amplifiers. And I'm not sure which one you were looking at, but a lot of people like this one because this is probably the low price leader for a 7-channel amplifier. Emotiva might have something. So let me show this to everybody. So this is the 7000X 7-channel amplifier for $1,000. I have never touched one of these or seen one of these in person. I don't think I've ever seen it at a show. It looks pretty straightforward. Can we make it bigger? Yeah. So we got XLRN, which is super nice, and RCAN, and you got a 12-volt trigger over here, power. So it's got all the right bits and pieces, and I'm sure the sound that comes out of it is fine. And at $1,000, it's super affordable. It's 7 by 130 into 8 ohms. So 8 ohms, and that's the right way to look at it, right? So 8 ohms is kind of the weakest that it would be. Into 4 ohms, it's probably pushing out closer to 200 or something. And I'm sure there's some specs on that somewhere. I don't see it. But and I assume this is probably a class D amplifier. Now that's assumption, I haven't looked, but I do like that it takes XLR in. That's really nice. And I do like that it's $1,000 because, man, that's a really good price. So how so you're going to power, so you'd only power 5 speakers with the 7 channels. Okay. Now from a power point of view, I think that power is enough. It's more than what you've got going now. And once you get over, something to consider is, once you get into the 100 and something watts per channel of amplification, remember that to get 3 more decibels out of your speaker, and 3 decibels is kind of like, I can tell that there's a difference in sound. It's not like double in sound, but it's just like, oh, that's louder. You have to double your output power. So, with this amplifier, if you were pushing 120 watts per channel, which it says it can do, if you wanted to make your speakers louder, like if you were maxing this thing out, you'd have to go into 240 watts or something, 300 watts. So you start losing benefit when you get above like the 150 watt range. 150 watt, you got to go to a 300 watt per channel amplifier to really get any appreciable benefit. Excuse me. So this, my point there's that this amount of power is totally fine, right? I don't think you're going to have any issue there. Kind of the sweet spot that I see for multi-channel amplifiers is like a 200 watt per channel amp is between 150 200 watts is kind of the sweet spot, because like I said, beyond that you have to have a lot of power to really have any effect on your sound, and you're not going to listen to it that loud anyway. I mean, that's plenty of juice. um so let's think. Let's add this back to stream, and let's see if we went over to Emotiva. uh let's see what we've got going on here. So amps and home theater. Let's see. Okay, so let's go into application home theater. Ooh, $500 in emo bucks. No, pass. So you could do a 5-channel amplifier, since you're only going to use 5 channels anyway, and then you're not wasting any money on any unused channels. Although if you can get a bridgeable amp, that's kind of cool, because then you have more flexibility down the line. This thing's only $600. Uh, Only RCA input, and that it depends what your processor has on the output, because if you do have XLRs, you want to use the XLRs. No matter what people say, use the XLRs. I've had a lot of good experience with the XLR action. Yeah, this looks like this probably isn't as nice as the Outlaw. Now we could look at some of the Stark stuff, but the AD4s are all sold out, and they have an A8, but you're looking at a price point of $6,000 or something, or $5,000. And it's class AB, and it's kind of it's like a lot different animal at a pretty significantly different price point. It's a great amp though. If you've got the deep pockets and the desire for something like that. And then so sensitivity 90 89 decibels, that's pretty common. That means that it's not a hungry speaker. If you want to think about hungry speakers, that's totally fine. If you're like 85, remember the 3 decibel increments is kind of what you want to play with and think about. And think about like 90 is kind of like normalish for speakers. 103 is a pretty darn sensitive speaker, because it gets noticeably louder with the same amount of power that you put into another speaker. And if you had an 87 decibel sensitive speaker as compared to a 90, it would be noticeably less loud than the more sensitive speaker. You have to turn the volume up and down for that kind of stuff. Uh, another amp that's kind of cool, but it's more at the $3,000 price point, would be the Acurus M8. It's 8-channel, but it's bridgeable, so you can run it as 5, 6, 7, or 8-channel. And I've actually got one of those in my living room, and I love it. It's bulletproof. It looks great. It's got Ethernet control. It's got all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's just 2U tall, Class D. But at a much higher price point. I think for the money, if you want to go like bargain basement, you're probably looking at the 5-channel Emotiva, which would be fine. At $1,000, the Outlaw is doing just fine. And then I guess the last thing that we should look at, just kind of as a spread, let me pull up what's Monolith. I think they have a huge number of amplifiers. So I think they do somewhere in here. Okay, home theater amplifiers. Let me share this out. All right, Monolith, and I think they do everything from like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so here you go. Monolith 5x200. Like I said, that's typically what you're going to find as a sweet spot on power. I really like that power rating. And what I like about this one is that it's got XLR and RCA in. You need to switch between the two on the button, a button on the back, but that's fine. And this might allow you, some of these, you can hook up the RCA and the XLR. Like if you had a 2-channel environment and you wanted to keep your 2-channel stuff hooked up all the time, you could just come back here and switch the buttons from XLR to RCA and use that kind of as a source selector. I've seen that on some amplifiers as well. So this might be something to consider at a higher price point than the Outlaw. And so you're up into the $1,500, $1,600 range. So, kind of at the bottom end, you got the Emotiva, moving up to the Outlaw, moving up to the Monolith, moving up to the Accurus, then moving up to the Stark, and then beyond that, you get into like super esoteric kind of stuff that's really freaking expensive. And I don't typically swim in those waters. But anything else from these guys? There's the 5. The 7 is 1849. You can do the 8. So here's a good comparison in price between the Accurus and the Monolith. So the Monolith is about 3 grand, and the Accurus I think is probably coming at 3,500 or something like that. A little bit more, but with a little bit more technology, and I think it's a better looking device than the Monolith. But the Monolith is all right. And then, but you can go cheaper, 8x125, or 8x100 for 2 grand. So that's, yeah, so lots of options. Um, so I don't know if that's helpful at all. But those are kind of the, yeah, the monoprice does look good. I think it's better than the Outlaw. I like the Accurus looks probably the Accurus looks for me probably the best of all of them. But it's got kind of that modern industrial kind of look to it. Um, and I like that. But hopefully those details are a little helpful to you on, as you think through what are the options. Now, so the one thing that we didn't talk about is you can look at pro amplifiers too, and they have 4-channel pro amplifiers, and you could buy a couple of 4-channel pro amplifiers for like $1,500. But I personally wouldn't do that because they don't have what I consider to be necessities for an 8-channel or 7-channel or 5-channel amplifier, which is stuff like 12-volt trigger. You definitely want an amplifier with 12-volt trigger. Most all of them will have that, but basically you just take that phono cable, or mono cable rather, 3.5 millimeter mono cable, and plug into the back of your processor AVR and then into the amplifier. And when you turn on your processor, the amplifier comes on automatically. And you definitely want that because you don't want to be trying to figure out how to do all this other stuff. Like a lot of times when you do home theater speaker subwoofer bills and you do a pro amp with that, the pro amps don't have that. So you end up buying like a power strip that has power sensing, and you plug your processor into that. And then when you turn your processor on, the power strip says, oh, okay, it's on. So let me turn on the other power ports. And those power ports are plugged. You have your subwoofer amplifier plugged into that, and you leave it on all the time. And so when the power comes on, it comes on too. So it gets a little kludgy. So for your multi-channel amp, I would stay away from that and get one that really does 12-volt trigger and that kind of stuff. So it's easier to deal with. From an Accurus point of view, those are already ready to be controlled by any kind of home control system like a C4 or ELAN or Savant or whatever it might be that you have. So those are really, really awesome from that point of view. All right, let me see if I can hide that current comment. So the last thing to talk about before we wrap up here for the day. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. A couple of videos that are coming up that I'll be working on, and some of the stuff will be interesting to you guys and some of it won't be, but I'm doing it because it's interesting to me and I can do it because it's my channel. So I got these guys back from the optometrist, and so these are the new Amazon frames that have Amazon Alexa built in. And I haven't charged these yet, so I haven't actually used them. But I have my prescription lenses in there. And hey, do I look like a librarian? I don't know. Do I look cool? They're pretty heavy from a look point of view. They're very lightweight. I mean, I can't tell any difference between those really and these. They weigh about the same thing. But they've got all the electronics built in here, so you can ask to listen to music, or what time is it, or set an alarm, or buy this thing. So you get to do that. They're kind of the shiny plastic lens, so they're not like, they don't scream out Dior or or Louis Vuitton or something. But I think they're like, oh, I'm a tech guy. But here, I'll just leave them on the rest of the show. They're comfortable, at least. They don't hurt my nose. So that what they don't have is they don't have these things. I don't, whatever that's called, the nose piece, right? So they're not super adjustable. So you kind of get what you get, and they can't really do much to it. So if they fit, great. If they don't, well, don't buy them. But there'll be a video coming out for these. I haven't even started working on that. But back into hi-fi world, I have this thing, Chewy, and this is a computer for Wookiees, obviously. Chewy, get it? Wookiees. And so it's one of the little small form factor PCs. It's bigger than a NUC, like a little Intel NUC. But the idea is I run my Rune server on my full desktop right now, and about half the time when I want to listen to music, my desktop is turned off. So I have to come up here and turn my desktop on, and Rune then grabs everything from all my storage and all my stream services and plays it to anywhere in the house where I want it, which I love. But it's annoying because it's on my desktop right now. So that PC is going to become a Rune server, ROON. So if you're not familiar with that, um, check that out, because I couldn't listen to music anymore without Rune. I have to have Rune. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'll be doing a video about that. So I'll probably do a video about the computer itself and open it up, take a look, and talk about that. But then also a setup video about Rune, because I haven't done one of those yet. And then if you look over here, let me turn this just a little bit. All right, you can't really see, it's out of focus back there. Cover my eyes. There is focus a little bit back there. But you'll see a computer case and a video card, and there's a box of RAM back there. So that will be the first computer build of the year. And I'll be building a new B660, Intel B660 chipset motherboard build. So I'm going to get an MSI Tomahawk board for that. And that's one of the 3 new chipsets that Intel has released to support their new 12th generation core processor. And I think I'll drop this will be for my wife. So I'm going to drop a Core 7 in there and like 64 gigs of DDR4 RAM, because DDR5 is super expensive and nobody gives me free stuff for computers. Out of my pocket. Antec case and so that'll be coming. And then I'll do another build with a Core i9 using all the top end stuff as my second build of the year, and probably the last build of the year. I'll probably do 2 this year for videos because they've done really well. I didn't do any last year, but I'll be doing it this year. And then other stuff that's coming out, still working on that video for the AVR that I have in from Onkyo. The 7100 is one of their low end models. I have a 5.1 clip system that I need to finish the review on as well. So stuff there. So a lot of stuff coming in the pike, so to speak. And always, if you guys have anything that you want to see in particular, let me know and I can knock that stuff out for you. All right. And that's pretty much our time. I don't see any other questions. Double A says that his brother's got Rune. He's looking forward to that. So no, that's great. Oh, yep. Waiting on the Samsung Frame finale. So you've seen the setup video, and I'll go through and give my review. Some spoilers. It's not the best picture quality, but you don't buy a Frame television for picture quality. You buy it for everything else. So I'll show you the UI. And I use this TV more than any other viewing device other than the monitor I'm sitting in front of right now for the computer. So I use it more than my home theater. I use it more than other televisions and projectors in the home. That thing just gets a lot of use. And when we're not actually watching television on it, it's got artwork and it just beautifies the room. It's super cool. Samsung really hit that one out of the park when they built it. All right. That's all we got for today. Everybody, thanks so much for joining. And Double A says his wife wants one more than you. Yeah, the frame's never for picture quality. It's for everything else. And it's like Lee said, you take one of those and you put it above the fireplace and it looks like a beautiful piece of artwork, and then you pull it down, you watch television on it, and the picture's not bad. The picture's fine. It's great. It's just not, like a LG OLED or the new Samsung micro LED stuff. But it's totally fine and totally good stuff. So again, everybody, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys in that very next video.